Hey folks, my name is Lachlan, and today I want to talk to you about what it really means to be severely disabled in South Africa. I live just outside of Durban. I am almost 35 years old, and I was born with a neuromuscular disability known as quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which leaves me confined to a wheelchair. Firstly, I must thank my patrons and my supporters for their indulgence because people who've been following me for a long time will have already heard most of the stuff I'm about to tell you. However, my YouTube channel has finally started to gain a little bit of attention after nearly a decade of making videos. So I want to explain this to a wider audience if I can, because I feel it is an important subject. So, what quadriplegic cerebral palsy actually is a condition which, in my case, was caused by brain damage I suffered at birth, which impairs the part of my brain that regulates movement and fine motor control. This means that I have bad balance, I have extreme muscular spasms, and I have a speech impediment. I know that right now you probably think I'm speaking relatively clearly, but as a child, I had to have many years of intensive speech therapy before anyone could actually understand the things that I said. The reason I want to make this video is I want to let you know what the practical impact of disability like this is in the South African context. So let's start with what my life is like. Right now, I survive on an income of roughly 8,000 Rand a month. I receive a small payment from my parents. I receive the disability grant, which is just over 2,000 Rand per month from the state. And I receive money from patrons and supporters for content like this, which currently totals around 3,000 Rand a month. With all my bills and expenses, including medication to help me cope with the symptoms of my disability, 8,000 Rand a month does not leave me much to work with. I'm surviving, yes, but that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to tell you a bit about my professional history, because believe it or not, as a South African with quadriplegic cerebral palsy, I am one of the lucky ones. I say this because I grew up in a middle class home with both parents involved in my upbringing, and because of that, I was able to go to college and qualify formally as a journalist. And a journalist was the first thing I became once I completed my national certificate course. Now, I was able to work as a journalist in my 20s because my cousin, who still remains my primary caregiver and roommate to this day, was able to drive me around from place to place, day or night. As I'm sure you can imagine, being a journalist requires you to go wherever the story is, whatever time that happens to be. So back then, I would work 12 to 13-hour days, 6 days a week. Unfortunately, with the passing of time and the fact that my cousin now battles with his own substantial health issues, he is no longer able to drive me from place to place. So my opportunities for employment are drastically limited. particularly because media as a general industry is dying. And this was even before the rise of AI models that can just do the writing for you. And those are really starting to take off. But even before AI came along, the fact is that the internet and the fact that everybody has a smartphone and can record whatever they see was really the death knell of traditional journalism. That leaves me in a very difficult position because, due to my disability, there aren't many jobs that I can apply for in the first place. And despite the fact that people with disabilities are technically protected by the employment equity laws of South Africa, it has been my practical experience that if companies can get away with hiring a physically normal person over someone like me, that's what they'll do. Now, when I say that, you might be thinking, oh, how evil they are. They should give you a chance. But honestly, if you think about it logically, South Africa's economy, particularly these days, is an employer's market. And hiring me, whether I like it or not, does come with a lot of complexities and issues that simply aren't part of the picture if a company hires somebody who does not have a disability. So I can understand why I don't get that many opportunities. Another thing is that as I get older, as I said, I'm almost 35 now, the symptoms of my cerebral palsy get worse and worse. Now, I must be clear, cerebral palsy is not considered a terminal condition, which means that the disability itself will not kill me. But as I said, because I have brain damage that makes it difficult for my body to regulate muscular tension, I'm in a lot of physical pain most of the day. And this is getting more and more extreme as time goes by. Now, in order for me to get a job and work like I used to, I would need to hire a professional assistant and get a vehicle of my own that would be suitable for my needs. This sounds fairly simple, but it is not, because in order to employ a professional assistant, I would need to pay them at least 15,000 Rand a month. As I said, I only earn, at most, on a monthly basis, 8,000. That's almost double what I get in. So the prospect of hiring an assistant I can trust is just not very realistic. I have had in the past friends and other well meaning people say to me, well, no, you don't need to hire somebody with professional training. Just hire someone that's willing to work and you can teach them along the way. I understand why somebody without a disability would think that. But the fact is, hiring somebody to look after you in the way that I need is not like hiring a normal employee. I have to be able to put my life in this person's hands, quite literally, because my disability is so severe that I need help with almost every aspect of daily life. I need help to bathe. I need help to get dressed. I even need help when using the toilet. So I'm sure you can understand why getting somebody to assist with all these tasks requires a bond of immense trust, and I need to be able to feel safe with them. So that's why, even though my cousin probably shouldn't be looking after me in the way that he does anymore, this is the best situation we could come up with because I simply don't have the funds to do anything better. I also would like to explain more about what my symptoms mean because if you've ever heard the word quadriplegic before, you probably are wondering why I'm able to move on camera as well as I do. For example, I can move my arms quite freely. Now, my hands don't work as well as a normal person's. For example, I struggle to open bottles and packets of chips, but I do have fairly decent use of my upper body, and I can even stand and walk to some degree as long as I've got something or someone physically supporting me so that I don't fall over. But I am nonetheless a quadriplegic, and that makes life very difficult in a lot of ways. I've talked about physical pain earlier, and you might wonder if I'm in physical pain, why do I not simply take painkillers? I made the choice to live without painkillers as far as I can because painkillers are not without consequences. The first thing that I'm aware that painkillers would do would be to dull my mind. And as somebody in my position, my mind is the greatest asset I have. I don't want to go through life feeling half asleep all the time. The other aspect of it is that prolonged use of painkillers will have a damaging effect on my body. My organs will suffer for it. So there is no way of getting around it. I either have to deal with the pain or take painkillers and deal with the consequences of those. So I choose rather to simply deal with the pain. I hope that this video has been of some use to you, particularly if you've never encountered somebody with a disability like mine before. Look after yourselves, take care of each other, and for now, farewell.